Titans Season 1 has concluded. The last episode aired last week, and I thought it was fabulous, spectacular, even better than I expected, and also better than I think a lot of people expected. If you remember all the hate this show got and the negativity, and then when it actually came out, all these people were like, wow, this show's actually good. So, I'm cool with Titans. I thought it was tightly plotted. I thought the production values were great. I thought the acting was great. The writing was great. But there was only one thing about the show I didn't like, and that was Robin's level of violence and brutality. Dick Grayson is not like that in the comics, at least not when I've read him. Whenever he's been at his most suppressed or hopeless or angry, he was not like he was in the show. I mean, and that's why that was the only thing I was really disappointed with. The other Titans, they got their violence on, but for some reason it didn't bother me the way it did him. Because he has just never been like that. And I understand that this is a grittier take on the Titans. Like, the whole show was a lot darker and grittier than I think a lot of people were expecting or maybe wanting. But, for some reason he bothered me the most. We saw him rub people's faces on broken glass, beat people within an inch of their lives. He ordered Starfire to blow up a hospital or a mental institution, I think, without making sure that it was empty. And I'm not sure that it actually was. And there might have been innocent people inside of it. And he killed that one cop, or that one guy who was responsible for the death of his parents. All very un-Dick Grayson-like things to do. I think I read in an article or something, someone said, like, after the fact, that the mental hospital, the asylum was supposed to be empty. But, you wouldn't have known that on the show, not the way they filmed it. The other Titans were, most of them, mostly a bit excessively violent for some people's taste, but most of that, I kind of understand. It makes sense. Starfire has always been kind of, at least in her early days, she was a lot more aggressive and brutal in the 1980s comics, so her brutality on the show didn't really seem like much of a stretch. Even though Starfire was different, the whole character of Starfire was different in the show completely, like in many ways from the comics. Raven, Raven isn't exactly a killer in the comics either, but in the comics and on the show, she's dealing with this dark side of herself she doesn't understand. And I think it's believable that this dark side could take control or have a mind of its own and lash out at people and kill them or hurt them really badly. Because if you notice in the show, she never really kills anyone unless she's under duress, and her power, she's stressed out and something lashes out and hurts people, which, actually makes sense if you read Raven in the old 1980s stories. And Beast Boy is also out of character like Robin is. But for some reason, I don't know, the way they wrote it, that seemed to make sense too. They seem to make it so that when his beast side takes over, he can't exactly control it. There seem to be either storyline reasons for the Titans who were killers to be killers, or they were like killers in the comics like Starfire. But with Robin, I just never got that. I get they were trying to say that, Batman was a horrible influence on him, and, Batman trained him to be extremely violent, but in the comics, Batman's training never made Dick Grayson like that. So, that's pretty much the only thing about the show that didn't sit well with me. And I'm curious to see, and I'm sure, they've understood this criticism. The main criticism a lot of people have had for Titans and the show in general has been the brutality. So I'm curious to see if they'll actually take that criticism to heart with Season 2, or if they'll just keep it the same. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. If they keep it the same, I'll still keep watching it. And they probably know that I and many other people will still watch this show because we watched the first season. So they don't really have much of an incentive to change anything about Robin's violence when he becomes Nightwing in Season 2. Because we all know he's going to become Nightwing, right? I mean, that's pretty much his character arc. So, although I will support Titan Season 2 and enjoy Titan Season 2, just like I did Season 1, I would like it better if they toned down Robin's brutality to be a bit more like he is in the comics, at least in all the comics I've read. I'm sure in like the 60 plus years that Dick Grayson has been a character, maybe there's an issue or two where he went that far, but I don't really think that's happened often, and I think that those appearances in the comics are so rare that it's still very out of character for him to act the way that he was acting on Titans. But what do you think? Probably you, like me, even if you didn't like his violence, you still love the show, and maybe you thought it was just perfectly fine and you don't think they need to change anything. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please like it on YouTube and subscribe to the channel because I appreciate your viewership, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.